What you do each day is your religion. The daily choices that you make consistently, what you do every day, your regular choices, that is the religion of you. Those are the sacred practices and rituals of your human existence. Some of those things are good for you. Some of the things that we do every day are good for us. Some of those things are not so good for us, right? But every single day, we are doing certain things over and over and over and over again by choice, whether that's eating every day, whether that's going to work, whether that's going to the gym or engaging in some sort of good habit for yourself, like physical exercise, yoga, sauna, these sorts of things. It can also be negative things, negative daily practices, things that scatter your brain, things that cause you stress, things that harm your body. These are also part of the religion that is you. And this is the reason I'm saying this, and why I feel that this is so important to talk about, is that the main way that we like to think about religion and religions in society now is as these big blanket categories comprising a certain group of people and their special book, histories, and cultures, rituals, these sorts of things. But what happens is, when we do that, when we expand back so far into these massive generalized labels about things, we are then missing all of the important specificity in each human being's life and what they are doing and the choices that they are making and not making each day, both good for them and bad for them. Because let's say you take a New Jersey Catholic man, right? He goes to Mass sometimes, Christmas, Easter, here and there. Maybe he'll go here and there. He's going to call himself a Christian. He's going to call himself a Catholic. And again, but then you can go to, let's say, you go somewhere else in the world, right? Let's say we go to Brazil. And there's a woman in Brazil who is also a Christian, and she has her own way of daily practicing. You know, maybe she is a Protestant, so she doesn't go to Mass, but maybe she has other things that she does. And in her home, right, you see different, maybe you've seen, shrines to saints, shrines to Christ, shrines to different people, different gods, these kinds of things. And so if we take this woman in Brazil, this Christian woman in Brazil, and this Christian man in New Jersey, they might be covered from a big label under the same religion, but putting that big blanket level label over who they are has little bearing on the actual daily decisions, the daily rituals, the daily sacred practices, because our actions every day are sacred, even if we don't think they are. Even if we think our choices are meaningless, they are not. They are meaningful. You can't take individuals and say, from this massive, massive scale, millions and millions and millions and millions of people, and say these people are practicing the exact same fundamental religion without getting way closer into who those people are, right? Because my belief is that the truth is the only religion. The truth of who you are, the truth of what is right and wrong, the truth of what is good for you and others and not good for you and others. The truth is the religion of life, right? That is the truth is the truth. It is the truth is the religion of life, right? The truth is saying, okay, let's not lie. Let's exist in reality. And when we do that, then we realize, okay, we are not Christ. What is Christ? Christ is the symbol of complete sinless perfection, right? Christ is a symbol of making no mistakes ever. right? So in Christianity, we have this sense of, here's the one God-man who made no mistakes ever, and then you are just fundamentally horrible, and therefore we need to have you come under this and try to be like this person. Many times in this way of judgment and condemnation on who you are, right? And again, I'm not saying what Christ really represents. Christ represents this highest ideal. Christ is in you fully, as is the devil fully, right? Christ and the devil are inside of you. It's in your body. And so when we try to say, okay, I'm going, what happens a lot of times, especially in Christianity, because of the person of Christ, is people end up saying a prayer, accepting Christ as their Savior, and that ends up meaning that they then hide a lot of the negative elements about themselves, because now they're a part of a community that has a certain level of unspoken masking that's now happening, right? Because when everybody is being brought under this image of total perfection and no mistakes ever, what happens is it then highlights and causes anxiety or fear about your mistakes, sort of where you have missed the mark. And that's not always a bad thing, because how do we ever improve? How do we ever get better unless we find the awareness of the daily choices that we're making that makes up our daily religion, and then change those choices, right? That's how we grow. That's how we change and morph and become better. But it's this judgment and this condemnation element that holds us back from self-acceptance, self-love, and then ultimately the forgiveness and love of others, right? When we're in that state of, and again, this is also why when we look at if you take a Christian, they will likely, like if you, Christian fundamentalists, right, mainline conservative Christian, let's say, they're very much going to say that all of the other religions are invalid, right? Christ is the only way. Christianity is the only way. The other systems of faith are fully, completely, and fundamentally invalid. And that's a really, really, really strong stance to take. And that, again, is part of this. Now we're creating more separation based on these big level labels rather than looking at the individual daily choices, daily practices, daily rituals of that individual person, right? I think it is a ludicrous statement to make, to say that this person over here, who may be Muslim, let's say, that they are regularly seeking truth, regularly seeking God, regularly following sacred practices like a 5-time-a-day prayer, bearing the fruit of someone who is living in truth and living in light, and then suddenly but then no matter the actual moral character that person is living in, you're still going to have people in whatever other religion say, no, that person's spiritual walk is fundamentally invalid. Every time they prayed, it was totally invalid because they weren't doing it my way. And that is a very insidious thought, because what's happening is you're placing these religious cultural categories. You're using the word religion in the context of these cultural categories of blanket groups of people. Say like, oh, America is a Christian nation, which is hilarious and not true. You make these blanket statements that sort of help you create a sense of the world that allows you to find safety in believing in systems and categories of defining people and groups, rather than engaging directly on an individual level with a person in front of you, and that person in front of you is a full manifestation of Jesus Christ and the devil, of the light and of the dark, right? We are both of them. And therefore, we are each day making decisions that is part of the spectrum of both light and dark that we are. And so rather than saying, I have to constantly force myself into this other thing, I have to be perfect, whatever that means, rather than allowing myself to love myself and accept the shadow elements, accept the devil within me, not allowing that shadow or that devil to control me, but acknowledging his existence and his presence, rather than trying to deny that shadow, deny that dark side, deny that unconscious, deny that. When you try to do that, this is where eventually you get some sort of psychotic break where the monsters come up. And how does that happen? Well, it happens because of lies, right? When you lie, you are distorting reality and you are distorting yourself. And so when you lie, and when you, one way of thinking about denying or not looking at that shadow self is lying about that shadow self. And a lot of times when you are engaged with someone else and they're maybe asking you about choices that you made or this sort of thing, there's obviously a tendency to deny or to lie or these sorts of things. Because of course, we don't want our shadows public, especially if we haven't done that inner work ourselves yet. Especially if we haven't taken the time to look at our own shadow, look at our own, let's say, daily choices of darkness, right? What are the daily choices that I am making that harm me, right? That are part of the dark side of the religion that is me, because each man unto himself is his own faith walk, is his own spiritual walk, is his own spiritual journey, because the truth is the only religion. And if he is following truth and he's living in an awareness of the choices that he's making each day, then instead of arbitrarily moving towards some sort of mentally created idea as to what you're supposed to be, you move closer towards the truth of who you are. Which is why the truth is the most important and only religion. So I'm kind of talking about religion from three angles here, right? And hopefully that's not confusing, but there's a sense of the daily choices. The most important religion on the planet are the daily choices that you're making, right? For you, as an individual human being watching this video, the most important religion for you is becoming aware of the daily choices that you're making and living in the truth of who you are. And a lot of the times when we're trying to not do something that is harmful to us. Yeah, I do. Okay, so if your daily choices make up the religion of who you are, right? If your daily choices is making up your expression of divinity, let's say, your human experience, both the light and dark choices you're making and your level of awareness on those choices, that's kind of what the individual must focus on. And then if we step back and we think about, okay, well, if a religion is a series of daily practices, a series of daily choices, a series of daily rituals, what then is the religion of America? What are our daily rituals and practices? They're not spiritual practices in the sense of church practices, right? Or like most of America is not vehemently religious, right? Most of America is religious only to one thing and one thing only, and that is the US dollar. The religion of America is the religion of money. Everything in our culture is based around money. You can't go anywhere without spending money. You can't even, like, everyone's passions seem to be about the accumulation of capital. Every single time you want to enter a building, you're probably going to be paying for something. It's like every element, every facet of American society is stuck and connected to this religion of money, this religion of capital. Because in America, your life is constantly surrounded by, you are constantly surrounded by strangers that you are transacting with, right? You are constantly surrounded by strangers that you are exchanging money with. You're transacting. So we walk around and we go get food and we transact with this person that's a stranger to us. And we go to the gas station and we transact with this system and then the person in here and whoever owns this, and they're strangers to us. And then we go to the grocery store and then we transact when we go get our food there. Or if we want to do something for another person, what must we do? Well, we must do something that, we buy them something. We buy them a gift. We buy them a trip. Everything is based around money. And then if you actually think about the physical world of our society, everybody is in their own silo, right? We're all connected through roads and the cars, but like there are no villages or communes anymore, right? There's not like a area where 300 people that know each other closely actually live together in some sort of harmony, unless you are of a different religion, which would be like Mennonite, which would be like the Jews, which would be any of these more strong, like you need a certain sense of strong division between what is the outworld and what is your world if you're going to have like a cultural religion like this. And so America has the religion of money, and this religion does not serve us. You cannot serve both God and money. And yet what do we do Monday through Friday? What is everyone in America doing all the time? Working these useless jobs, most of them totally useless jobs, right? If we lived in a world, I'm not opposed to work. I think when I sit and rail about money, it might sound like I'm opposed to doing any work. That's not the case. What I am opposed to is doing useless work for no reason. And the amount of jobs in America that are full of people doing useless work for no reason is astounding. So why then are they doing these jobs? Well, they're doing these jobs because they believe in the religion of money. They believe that I need this money to pay my bills, to pay to go out, to pay for this, to pay for that, to go on this trip, blah, blah, blah. I need my dollar. So because of that, I'm going to spend the most valuable asset that God has ever given me, which is my time and attention. And I'm going to spend that in something totally and fundamentally useless because I believe in the religion of money. I'm going to allow hours and hours and hours of my time to be taken from me towards some sort of corporate entity that I don't really like or believe that has my best interests at heart. But yet I'm going to spend tons and tons and tons of my human time and energy poured into that thing so that I continue to sacrifice my time on the altar of money. Because I can't trust God to take care of me, I must sacrifice my time for the altar, on the altar of money. And this is the way in which most people in America live, consciously or unconsciously. Because just like I was saying, back to the whole your daily choices, what you do each day is your religion, your daily choices is your religion, you don't have to be conscious of those choices for them to be a part of your religion, right? What you are choosing to eat, or what you're choosing to ingest into your body, or what you're choosing to look at, or what you're choosing to engage in, all of this, whether it's you wanting to make that choice, or you are influenced by other people and you're not really thinking about it, you go with them, you're still regularly making those choices. And it's about becoming aware of why you're making the choices that you're making, and giving yourself the space to say, hey, every single day that I live, I get to make choices, and I can make new choices today. And I can experiment with the kinds of choices I make, right? So this is so for example, one thing I think that really trips people up when they're trying to better themselves, when they're trying to seek truth, when they're trying to move into a higher vibration of peace and love and this sort of thing. One of the things that I think trips up is don't remember. Making the same choices the same way over and over and over and over again. So for example, let's say two aspects of someone's personal daily choices, right? Let's say they go to the gym, and let's say they also drink, right? If they go to the gym and do the same routines day in and day out, well, that can be good. They're able to turn their brain off and they're able to do something that is of value to them. And in the same way with alcohol, like if they're regularly drinking, we always go out, me and my buddies, we always go out this time of the week, every single week, like clockwork, then you're not thinking about that choice. You're not even being creative with that bad choice, right? So one thing I actually believe in is we have shadow every single day. It doesn't leave us. I don't believe that we ever become this fully shadowless entity that does no ill. I have never seen, I think we can move more into a positivity and love and this sort of thing, but it's always attached to that shadow, right? Like the shadow reaches into the darkness so that you can reach towards the light. There's a Carl Jung quote that is of that. A tree can only grow to heaven unless its roots grow to hell, sort of thing. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me that we will be fully and completely separate from all negative emotion forever. But what we can do is be aware of our negative emotion, be aware of our negative desires, be aware of when we want to do things that might not be the best for us. But if you're going to do it anyway, be creative with it, right? Why, like if you're going to harm your body by regularly drinking, and you regularly drink the same way over and over, you always get the same beer, you always get the same liquor, you always hang out with the same people, you go to the same bar, you go to the same club, it's like, at least get drunk somewhere else, go up on a mountain and sit in the sun and have a beer or something, like at the very least, there's this, like your daily choices, there's this creativity that is innate within them, in the sense that you can move and change. Like the most immediate thing you can move and change and mold is your choices. We want to think about changing the entire world and all of the systems all at once, and I wish we could do that. But really, the thing that you can change immediately is what choice you're making today. And you can also be creative with that choice, right? Because the choice might be, I'm going to drink or not drink. And you might drink. At the very least, be an interesting drinker, right? I don't know if you guys have ever looked at that Hunter S. Thompson like daily writing routine. Again, I wish I pulled that up I just thought of it now, but look up Hunter S. Thompson's like daily writing routine. It's insane. He's like doing all these drugs and drinking and like, he's just going crazy, right? But at least he's doing something interesting. At least he's being Hunter S. Thompson. At least he's living in his authenticity, right? Just because you do evil things, or just because you do dark things, just because you sin against others or yourself, it doesn't invalidate your soul. You still are a divine light being, even if that happened. And so therefore, the most important thing you can do is learn self-love and learn how to live in your own authenticity, right? I don't believe in a world that is going to be where we all just do nothing wrong forever. But I do think we can live in a world where we are more aware of the choices that we're making, and we can be more creative about those choices, and we can live in a more authentic way, right? Because I think the biggest thing is, where am I suffocating my own voice? Where am I stopping myself from speaking? Where does my heart kind of open up, but I close that up because I'm not supposed to say this, because I'm in this environment, I'm in this job, I have to do this, I got to toe the line here. That's what needs changed. Living in a lack of truth, living a lie. The truth is the only religion, and the enemy of the truth is lies. Lies you tell yourself, lies you tell other people. Don't hide yourself. Don't hide. Why do you have to hide? Stop hiding because you think other people are better than you, or stop hiding because you think other people are holier than you, or have done the work more than you, or have earned a right to speak about a topic more than you, right? We gain confidence to speak in our truth when we feel that self-love and that authenticity, when we're not in that sense of self-judgment and self-criticism and saying, I am incomplete, and because I'm incomplete, I have to wait on other people to tell me what the right thing to do is, right? That is what incompleteness is. You're looking towards an external force, someone out there, to tell you what needs to be done, because you don't trust yourself to make the right decisions, because you see yourself in some sort of negative light. And that's what we're trying to get away from. And the way that we get away from that is living in the truth. And the first person you need to be truthful to is yourself. And then from there, it gets easier. But we're not all one size fits all. We're not all supposed to be this particular perfect prototype, right? We are all in our own time and place for such a time as this, right? Christ was in his own context, right? He lived in his world. He existed at a specific time as an antidote to the world that he was in. You are the same thing if you choose to be. Because every human being is not separate from the time that they're born into. They are a part of it. They are of it. Because we're all one and all connected and meaningful. And so what I want to leave you here with this, kind of wrap up, is one, the truth is the only religion. It is the most important religion. It is the North Star. Truth about yourself, about the light of yourself, and about the shadow of yourself. The truth about the world, truth about other people. And not shying away from that truth, not living in lies, not hiding. And then, the other thing would be, I would very much encourage you to get away from these big arbitrary labels of faith and focus way more down on individuals. The first individual being you, and then being aware and really seeing the person that's standing in front of you. Not blinding yourself by these arbitrary labels, that don't necessarily have a direct connection to the individual religion of that human being, right? The daily choices that they're making don't have to be connected to this ideological label that you have allowed them to tell you they are. And don't discount the faith walks of other people because they didn't read your book. Because for you to believe that a group of people are disconnected from God because they didn't read your book is to have a fundamental misunderstanding of the reality that we are inside of. It's a misunderstanding of what we are really. We're not these random meat sacks that have come from nothing. We are meaningful divine light beings, actually. And the clock of God sits above us, and we stand upon Mother Earth, and we are in a meaningful place. And when you feel that, you realize that, then you realize each individual person is their own universe. And to just say, oh, I need to take this label and smack it on them to create this sort of superficial sense of who that human being is, it's not helping you. It's not helping you understand them, and it's not helping you understand yourself. It's keeping you in shadow. But we want to walk in the truth. And we want to walk in love of self. That's the final thing I want to say here is I have a tendency to be extremely self-critical, which has been at times annoying and at times very useful for me. I think my ability to be a very strong writing coach and write all of these screenwriting videos that I have made, or even communicate in this way, has come from my analysis and iteration of writing, of communication, of speaking, of understanding other people, human psychology, all of this stuff. And so I think it's not about the judgment and the criticism and living and feeling that. It's more about living in awareness of when you are missing a mark, when you are doing something that you know hurts you and you shouldn't. You know, the thorn in your side, as Paul called it. But you are still fully and completely in the love of God, in self-love, and in your fullness in that moment, right? Because with Christianity and a lot of the fundamental ideology of Christianity puts you in this place of constant incompletion, even though it's supposed to make you feel like, okay, well, I've said the prayer and I have accepted Christ and that is my completion. That's what you're supposed to kind of feel that way. But then when you walk outside and you continue to live and be an imperfect person, it can, not for everybody, but it can start to create this falseness and start to create this shadow where you're like, oh wait, I made a public declaration of faith, and yet I've just gone through this difficult period of my life and I sinned and I did X, Y, Z. Right? And so now because of that, I need to be deeply in my self-judgment because I just told all these people and I told God that I'm this and I accepted, but yet I'm still a flawed human being. And that, it's very easy to get in that mindset in the mainline modern American Christian culture. And I would encourage you not to get into that way of thinking in the sense of feeling as though you are invalidated by your dark side, right? Feeling as though your dark side, your imperfections, these sorts of things invalidate your existence and mean that you are less than what God intended. But I would actually argue that because we live in a meaningful universe, because the earth is a flat plane and that's God's clock and this is Mother Earth, that because everything around us is meaningfully placed and alive and connected to God, we are connected to God right now. We're not invalid because of darkness. And in reality, you're strong and powerful because of your darkness. It's a part of who you are. The more you look at it, the more you're aware of it, the more that you're aware how much of your human bodily energy, when you want to do something bad, or you get that desire to go follow an addiction or something like this, it's you really get excitement or tension or energy in your body. Think about that. Next time it happens to you, hold that awareness in your flesh, because there's actual body energy that's coming up within you because of your shadow. And that's very important to remember, because if you're saying, oh, my shadow is invalid, this is an evil part of me, and I'm just totally evil because of this thing, you're missing out on the fact that that thing is generating human movement for you, right? It's almost something that it's kind of making you stand up, making you go, in the sense of not that you have to go and find that addiction again, but it forces you out of whatever stasis or rest you were in. I know this is getting a little abstract. I hope you're holding on here. But when you use that movement, when you use that energy, there is your power. There is your strength. So if you need to speak strongly, right? Let's say you love cigarettes and you want to speak really strong. If you don't smoke cigarettes for a couple of days, then you're going to be kind of frustrated, you're going to be annoyed, and you're going to be in that, But now you kind of give yourself that oomph, right? Because that stress is really just some of that oomph, right? That readiness. It kind of puts you awake. Being uncomfortable. When you're comfortable, you're going to sleep. Part of being awake is kind of feeling like things are a little weird, All right. I think that's it. I think that's what I've got for you. I could sit here and run my mouth forever and ever, but I want to keep this semi-coherent and on track here. The truth is the only religion. What you do every day matters. The choices that you make matter. I love you. Be at peace. I'll see you tomorrow.